Hey ladies and gentlemen, Chris of the Polish Geek, and welcome to another video. And this is another video game review. But before we get to it, I will say this. I'm going away for 2 weeks after this. So yeah, again, no videos for 2 weeks. But right before I go, I decided I would do this review for you. And the review is an underrated indie game that I really think deserves more love and attention, and this game is called Apotheon. This is a game set in Greek mythology. I actually talked about this game before because I once made a list of top 5 video games set in Greek mythology, and I know Apotheon was most certainly on the list, I remember that. And I decided that this game is so underrated and deserves so much more love that I decided to give a full review of it. I will say I in general love Greek mythology. I remember reading a lot of Greek mythology in my childhood. Good times, really good times. But I love everything about the gods, the heroes, the monsters. I could talk for hours about Greek mythology, but I really know a lot. And this is one of those subjects I could just talk for hours about. And there surprisingly have been plenty of good video games set in Greek mythology. The fact that I managed to do a top 5 best video games in Greek mythology shows. We of course have God of War franchise and Kid Icarus Uprising. Speaking of Kid Icarus, I should totally do a review of that too someday because this game is awesome. But Apotheon is one of those hidden gems. It's an underrated indie game that sadly not many have played, but it certainly deserves a lot more love and attention because it's such a unique game and it honors Greek mythology so much. Indie games can totally be as good as mainstream video games, sometimes even more, and Apotheon is a perfect example of that. So, let's talk about how good Apotheon is, because it truly deserves your attention, especially if you love Greek mythology like me. The first thing that I'll have to talk about while talking about Apotheon is that I really love the art style and the look of this game. It's a side-scroller, but not only it's set in Greek mythology, but it outright uses an ancient Greece black and orange pottery art as its art style. And I love it so much. This is awesome and creative. It looks so great and it is so unique. And when I'm playing this game, I just cannot stop being impressed by the uniqueness of this style. And if you pause the game, a computer screen is just an ancient Greek wall, and it literally looks like your computer screen has just turned into an ancient Greek wall. I really could talk for hours about a unique art style of this game. And accompanying a unique art style is the really good and addicting gameplay. Apotheon is one of those games that you can't really put down as you're playing it. It's a Metroidvania style game, and there is a lot of exploring and finding and picking different weapons and finding lots of secrets. If you're a fan of Castlevania Symphony of the Night or Super Metroid, then I'm sure you know what I mean. You have 2 main hubs in this world, and they are both on Mount Olympus, and they are called Agora and Acropolis. Agora is the first one. This is the place where you can buy better weapons, upgrade your armor, or just talk to random people and maybe do some side quests for them, or just discover some of the game's secrets. You can attack those people, but this will generally result in punishment, so I wouldn't recommend that. There are 3 different types of weapons: melee, ranged, and throwable. I generally use melee since I'm very strictly melee sort of person in video games, and those melee weapons are swords, axes, clubs, and even this best weapon in the game, Sikaris, which I generally try to avoid using since if you use any weapon too much, it breaks. Of course, you can either repair it in the shop or buy a new one. And Sikaris is of course very expensive. But overall, combat in this game is really good and really addicting.
Kill for Ares!
The boss battles in this game are also really good. They range from various Greek mythology monsters like Chimera to Greek gods like Poseidon, Ares, or Apollo, and every boss battle truly stands out from the previous one. Every boss in this game feels unique in their fighting mechanic, and they are all pretty challenging, and that's great. A good amount of challenge is good. The story of the game is that Zeus got really upset with the mortal world and decided to destroy it once and for all. You are the son of Zeus and your name is Nicandrios, and you have to stop Zeus. Many would say it sounds like God of War story all over again, but trust me, there are plenty of differences between this game and God of War series. And Zeus in God of War didn't quite want to destroy the world, but there are plenty of other differences. You wake up in a village that is being raided by invaders, and while fighting those invaders, you learn all the basic mechanics of the game. Being guided by the wife and sister of Zeus, Hera, you have to travel all over different places on Olympus and find different artifacts of a different god. And you fight those gods too, with the exception of the few that give you their artifact willingly. You go to Forest of Artemis, Sea of Poseidon, Underworld of Hades, and top of Olympus itself. Despite every area using the same Greek pottery art style, every area somehow feels unique actually and different from the other one. I know, maybe they all seem kind of the same with the art style, but trust me, if you actually play the game, then they all feel very unique and kind of distinct from one another. And you don't even have to tackle those areas in specific order. And also, I love that Hades in this game is actually one of the few gods that isn't really evil. Which he's actually one of those gods that gives you his item willingly, which is far closer to his original Greek mythology portrayal, and I'm really glad that the trend of portraying Hades as Satan equivalent is dying. That trend has been started by Disney Hercules movie, but thankfully it is dying now, maybe because more people now are familiar with Greek mythology. In general, as you're playing this game, this totally feels like it was done by Greek mythology scholars, not just by people who love Greek mythology, because God of War, I say, felt very much like it was done by Greek mythology fans. But Apotheon feels like it was made by outright Greek mythology scholars. And in kind of similar fashion to Souls-like games, this game has a lot of lore on various descriptions. I mean, it's of course Greek mythology lore, and I'm very familiar with it, but it's really nicely done because there are various different quotes from famous ancient writers. And I love that. There are quotes from Homer's Iliad, for example, or by ancient Greek philosophers like Plato. And there are descriptions of various classic Greek myths. And they are very accurate too. I mean, of course, since, as I said, those are quotes by actual ancient writers who talked about those myths. And I read all those myths in childhood, and seeing those myths described with actual quotes from Greek ancient writers in a video game is just so amazing and so much immerses you in the world of Greek mythology. And the final thing that I will talk about is the music, because the music in this game is excellent. It literally feels very divine and completely fits with the overall atmosphere of the game and the art itself. Overall, Apotheon is a really great game that truly deserves to be experienced. You probably hear how some people now say indie games are just as good as mainstream games. Some even go as far as say they are more so, and Apotheon is a perfect example of that. So, it has an amazing art style, and it truly captures the spirit of Greek mythology. So, you totally should play Apotheon, and where to get it? It's on Steam, and it's not even particularly expensive. I know, like, in the US at least, I heard it's like only $15, while here in Poland it's like 60 zlotys, 60 złotych for Polish currency. So, if you have Steam, you totally should get Apotheon, especially if you love Greek mythology like me. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for checking out this video. Press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I'm going away. I won't be here for 2 weeks, but talk to you when I get back in 2 weeks. Talk to you then. Bye.